Hello. First of all, an apology. 5 months ago when I last made a video, I said at the end of it, see you next week. This turned out not to be true. The reason why is because I passed away, unfortunately. Several seances were then held to try and recruit me back into the world of the living. They all failed, none of them worked. However, yesterday I decided to turn in my grave and become undead. The reason why is because Jaguar released their new advert. As you can see, it was god awful, and I really want to take a bit of time just to talk about that advert, what it means for the brand, what it means for us enthusiasts who are really passionate about that brand, and also take a little drive in the XJS and really just speak about why it is that I love that brand so much in the first place, what my concerns are as well moving forward. And then at the end of all that, we'll take a look at what a Jaguar advert should be and what is really representative of the brand. So, what does it mean for the brand? Well, about a year or two ago, Jaguar announced that they're going to take a sort of secondment period away from making cars. They were going to stop for a while so they could take time to reinvent the brand. Now, issue with that is that they weren't reinventing the brand in the way that the brand needed to be reinvented. The reason why Jaguar was struggling to sell cars is not because they went woke, it's not because they weren't catering to the right market or whatever, it's because they were simply making cars that were unreliable and depreciated really badly. So, you know, who wants to buy a car that's unreliable and will probably lose you lots and lots of money when there's other cars out there that will do a similar thing, they'll do it much better and they won't lose you lots of money. The only real logical thing that you have left there that Jaguar would have is an upper hand over these other brands, you know, BMW, Volvo, Audi, Mercedes and such, is their heritage. That's the only reason really that you would have bought a Jaguar recently if it wasn't an F-Type really, which was a fantastic car. The thing is with that is that if it was me running the brand, I would want to say, okay, let's go and consult Toyota, let's go and consult somebody who can build cars reliably, sort ourselves out there, and then we'll put money into investing in new models coming out and such. That would make a lot more sense, because then, you know, when people see that you build reliable cars that don't depreciate really terribly, they're going to want to come back to your brand over and over again. You're also going to attract new buyers as well. And you're not going to spend as much money on warranty claims. So that's the straightforward sort of way that I would have done it before afterwards saying, okay, now it's time to develop and putting out new models. But what they've done is they said, nope, what we're going to do, we're going to stop making cars altogether, we're going to make electric cars only, and they're going to start at 100 grand, and we're also going to alienate people who really like our brand in a bid to try and take on some new buyers. But the thing is, the new buyers that they're looking for, from what we've seen of that advert, are probably under 30s in the far left end of the political spectrum. People who typically don't really like cars, let alone have the money to spend 100 grand on one. So that doesn't bode well as a business idea, and I don't think it's going to work out too well for them. And frankly, neither does anyone else now that we've seen that. What does it mean for us enthusiasts? Well, it means that we'll probably still love the old Jags, but the new ones, it's just not going to be the same anymore, and they've pretty much alienated us as a demographic. In my head, the way that I'm sort of trying to justify it is somebody whose all-time favourite car is a Jaguar. It's the XJS, which you'll see later on in the video. The way that I'm trying to justify it is I'm telling myself, right, Jaguar then something else. Two different companies completely. There's probably nobody left who works for Jaguar today who worked for Jaguar when they were making the cars that I really liked, you know, up until, well, it's hard to say because I really like the XK and I really like the F-Type, but the cars that I really lusted after, the most recent one was probably the X3 weight XJR, which they stopped making about 2003ish, I think. So yeah, different company altogether. With that, let's hop into an XJS and talk a bit about why it is that people like me actually really love that brand and why it is such a shame that the brand is going in this direction. Okay, so why is it that I love the brand so much? Why is it that Jaguar is so special? On your screen right now is a Jaguar XJS. It's my all-time favourite car, and I'm going to just tell you about why it's sort of special to me as such, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the brand as well. So the Jaguar XJS is a car I first encountered when I was about 8 years old. There was something in my primary school called Golden Time. The idea was, at the end of the day on a Friday, if you'd been good that week, you could go and play with some toys for the last hour. And I used to play by myself, really, which is no surprise, but the reason why is because I was the only one in my class that really liked cars that much. And there was a big box of cars, big box of toy cars that is, and I remember digging through that box, coming across a Jaguar XJS. I didn't know what it was at that time, but I remember it was maroon with what Jaguar would call oatmeal interior, which is cream, pretty much this colour actually. And I turned it over because I wasn't sure if it was a real car or if it was perhaps one that had just been made sort of by the toy car manufacturer, because I thought it looked amazing, and I remember hoping to God that it was a real car so that one day I could have the chance to have one of these. And sure enough it was. It said in the correct font at the bottom of the car, Jaguar XJS, and I put that car in my pocket and I left school with it. It was the first and last thing that I've ever stolen in my life, and I don't actually have the toy car anymore, unfortunately. I wish I did. But that was when I encountered the XJS for the first time, and ever since then I've really lusted after one. I'm an adult now. I've decided to wait until I can afford really an engine rebuild on one before I buy one, just in case I was to get one and something went wrong. And I want to be able to enjoy the car. I don't want to be thinking about, you know, oh, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, so on and so forth. I don't have the money for it, because they are expensive cars to maintain. That was why Jaguar holds a sort of special place in my heart, because ever since I was a child I always wanted these old Jags, and I still to this day I think of it as this is the best looking car ever made. And a lot of people have similar stories. A lot of people have stories that might involve family members that have one of these cars and such, that hold a lot more gravity than what my story does. But what's universal is that a lot of people, myself included, just adore this brand. It's just fantastic. The cars they used to make, I mean, when you go back in the past and if you look at Jaguar's catalogue, it's incredible. Throughout the 1950s, when they won Le Mans, they made the fastest road cars in the world, the XK 120, 140, 150, putting disc brakes from the Le Mans racing car onto their Mark II, which was a saloon car, the car that became famous for being preferable for bank robbers. Such a fascinating history, and this car here embodies so well what Jaguar was about. Big V12 up the front, lots and lots of power, but lots of comfort as well, and a focus on luxury as well as performance. And it was that mix that you'd get with the Jaguar that you wouldn't get from anything else back then. In a lot of ways, BMW is today, if you sort of ignore their ugly models that they've made recently, they are the spiritual successor to what real Jaguar actually is. If you look at cars like the M340i or the Z4 and stuff, that's just much more in line with what Jaguar would have made. Not a small sports car like the Z4, because let's face it, the Z4 is quite a big car, but you get the idea. What concerns do I have going forward? Well, no Jaguar means no Jaguar employees, first of all. There's a lot of people who work for Jaguar who, when it inevitably does fail and go bankrupt, those people aren't going to be able to pay their mortgages. They aren't going to be able to put food on the table, and that's most important. And that's what these marketing people who have decided to release this stupid advert haven't thought about. Because it's not just the advert, it's what the advert stands for and what it says about the brand, and how it alienates people who would have traditionally purchased these cars and loved them in favour of people who, let's face it, aren't even people who like cars and probably won't want to buy a car for the most part, never mind have the means to do so. The other thing that I'm sort of concerned about is to a much lesser degree than people's livelihoods, is for all these old cars, XJS, the old XJs of whatever generation you want to name, really, XGC, XJ6, the X300, X308, etc. All these old wonderful cars that they make. Where we're going to buy parts of them, because it's Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust. Is that part of the Jaguar umbrella? If Jaguar goes, do they go as well? Because those are the, Jaguar Heritage, that's the company that makes parts for these cars and keeps them on the road. It's a real tragedy, and I think for me as a British car enthusiast, it was one of the few things that I sort of had left that I could look at and go, yeah, you know what, we're really good at that. That gives me a bit of pride in my country, or nation rather, in the form of the F-Type. Yeah, it wasn't as good as a Porsche 911, but it had so much character. Did you really care? It's a tragedy. It really is. I mean, yeah. With that heavy note, I know I've not gone into the advert too deep, but I've more spoken about the brand. Let's take a look at what a real Jaguar advert is. Let's take a look at how it should be done and how it should make you feel, and how it should make you, most importantly, want one.
Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
Maybe we just sound right.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mary.
We're more focused, more precise.
We're always one step ahead.
With a certain style, an eye for detail.
And we're obsessed by power. Stiff upper lip is key.
And we all drive Jaguars.
Oh, yes. It's good to be back.